Focus on GRA will tell you about the tax exemptions benefits for large capital equipment imported for use in the extractive industries and the construction sector. We'll also be inviting an expert in customs to provide answers to other general questions relating to tax exemptions coming to us via social media. We'll have a reminder to our VAT registrants about advertising prices of items to the consuming public. We'll have important messages from the GRA and more. Fabian Klaus here. Focus on GRA begins right now.
School is out and it's time to start buying those school supplies for your children. Here's how GRA can help. Textbooks, coloring books, graph books, dictionaries, pencils, erasers, crayons, lunch kits, scientific calculators, geometry sets, and many more essential school supplies are zero-rated for VAT. School uniform garments for shirts, pants, skirts, kimonos, and dresses are also zero-rated for VAT. So what are you waiting for? Get to shopping. GRA, your partner in development. Meet Cindy.
Meet Shivani.
Cindy is using the old tax software to assist taxpayers,
While Shivani is using the new Optimal software, where everything is stored electronically and is easily accessible.
Optimal Revenue Management System. Let's get ready for 2021.
Welcome. You're watching Focus on GRA. This is a program of information for taxpayer education. We begin by telling you about the tax exemptions, benefits, and provisions in the law relating to large capital equipment imported for use in the extractive industries and construction sector. Here's more. The tax concessions provided in law for the mining, agriculture, forestry, construction, and manufacturing sectors are geared towards enabling their sustainability, growth, and continued contribution to Guyana's economy. In October 2020, the government zero-rated capital machinery and equipment, such as tractors and trailers, combines, chainsaws, excavators, bulldozers, and other similar equipment imported or sold locally for use in these sectors. The Revenue Authority grants approval for such concessions through the Tax Exemptions Processing and Verification Unit. So on the phone with me now is Mr. Gavin Lowe. He's a Deputy Commissioner of Customs, Excise and Trade Operations and a former Senior Manager for the GRA's Tax Exemptions Processing and Verification Unit. Mr. Lowe, with VAT being removed, are these items subject to customs duty?
What we have done, we have revised the entire tariff which deals with capital equipment. And the ones that are used specific for those industries, those are the 5 that I mentioned: the mining, forestry, agriculture, and so on. And this is only for VAT. Bear in mind that most of the equipment that we're speaking about here already are zeroed in the tariff.
Chapter 84 of the tariff provides a detailed list of machinery and equipment in the extractive industries and construction sector that are free of customs duty. The public can find the tariff on the GRA's website under the revised Common External Tariff of the Caribbean Community based on the 2017 edition of the Harmonized Commodity Description and Coding System, HS 2017. Further, the zero rating of the said items is provided in the first schedule of the VAT Act. Would importers of crane machines, for example, benefit from these concessions, given that these machines are most often used in sectors other than the 5 mentioned?
A crane can be used by John Fernandez or Munishwar to lift containers. But a crane is not used in the mining sector, it's not used in forestry, it's not used in agriculture. It can be used for construction, but it's not used in manufacturing. So I'm just giving you a synopsis. We did not zero a crane in the system. Because if we zero it in the system, then anybody can bring in a crane and get it VAT-free.
The granting of tax exemptions follows a general application to the Commissioner General along with supporting documents. Currently, the automated system for customs data, Asikuda World, facilitates this process. However, once the items are declared for use in the extractive industries and construction sectors, the Asikuda system grants automatic exemptions, thereby ruling out the need for a manual application. Do remember that the government's measure to offer tax relief on COVID-19 prevention care and treatment supplies remain in effect until December 31, 2021. During this period, individuals and corporations will not be paying customs duty, value-added tax, and excise tax where necessary on the importation of COVID-19 test kits, instruments and apparatuses used in diagnostic tests, protective garments and the like, thermometers, disinfectants or sterilization products, medicaments, and medical consumables. Focus on GRA will return after these messages.
The Guyana Revenue Authority is pleased to introduce to you our optimal revenue management system. You don't have to stand in line, file your tax online. At GRA now it's a fact. You could go online and file your tax. Stay home, don't worry, just relax. Stay safe and file your tax. Save money and time, you don't have to stand in line. Never miss a deadline. At GRA, you can file your tax online. The Optimal Revenue Management System is an improved and user-friendly software that facilitates online services and the management of your tax affairs from your homes or offices. With this powerful and flexible solution, we provide comprehensive and flexible online services, thereby reducing the cost of compliance. Visit the GRA resource page www.gra.gov.gy/optimal to find out more. Sign up and register for an Optimal account at eservices.gra.gov.gy. At GRA, you can file your tax online.
As we have Mr. Lowe on the line, we'd like to use this opportunity to ask him some other questions relating to tax exemptions that we've been receiving via social media. Now, the first question is from Mr. Charles Ramgobin, and he wants to know about tax exemptions for charitable organizations and whether or not there's a distinction between charitable organizations and NGOs.
There is a difference. A charitable organization is registered under the Companies Act, and the NGO is registered under the Friendly Society Act, and this is under the Ministry of Human Services. So the difference basically is that one is registered under the Act of Parliament, and the other one is registered under the Friendly Society Act, which is governed by the Ministry of Social Services.
So the next question is from Mr. Paul Reed, and it's actually a follow-up from Mr. Charles Ramgobin. Paul is asking, what is the procedure involved in applying for tax exemptions as an NGO or charitable organization?
The NGO and the charitable organization main purpose is to get exemptions for free distribution. And by extension, 10.1 allows you to bring items for use of the organization, specific use of the organization. Now, once you apply and a verification process will decide whether you're entitled to or not, then the GRA will write the Minister of Finance and either recommend or disapprove the organization. Once it's approved, you'll receive a letter from the Ministry of Finance, by extension the GRA, stating that the entity has been approved as a charitable organization or an NGO for tax-exempt purposes.
We have another question, and it's from Matthew Boston. He is asking, what is the procedure for customs clearance of imports for NGOs and charitable organizations?
Let's say you bring in 1,000 bed sheets and 1,000 pillows and you're donating it. You should keep records of how you dispose of these items, because we want to make sure that because you're granted exemption on these items are given to maybe an orphanage or a person, a family, a poor family. But the idea is not these items to reach on the market at any time or to be sold to anyone.
A question now from Nikita Brown. She's asking, what are the tax exemptions on buses used for public transportation?
Government has introduced a flat rate system for buses, and that's buses over 4 years old. Remember, we spoke previously about motor vehicles 4 years and older and motor vehicles under 4 years. So the flat rate for buses, it's 2,600 US, and that is, it has to be in this year, 2021, the bus has to be 2016 going backwards. If it's 2017 to 2021, then you pay 10% customs duty, 10% excise, and 14 VAT. And when you compound it, it would be 37.94%.
Shakil Hanna is asking what conditions must be satisfied to benefit from tax exemptions on importation of a bus for public transportation.
The Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act refers to a bus as a vehicle, and the Customs Act and the Excise Tax Act. It must be a vehicle that can accommodate 10 seats or more. There is a specific requirement also in the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act for a specific space between each seat should have a certain amount of space.
Jasmine De Silva is asking, can someone use a minivan like a Noah or Voxy for public transportation and benefit from tax exemption?
In the past, you know that the Noah and the Voxy and those small buses, GRA used to grant it. They used to work short drop from like South and, you know, these areas. And what happened, the police met with the GRA and explained that the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act disallowed those vehicles from being compliant with the space, because the space between the seats was too small and persons had to sit down with a crouch. They couldn't have, you know, free movement, free leg room. So eventually GRA had to put out a notice to stop those small vehicles from being granted permission to enter into the bus series, into the B series. So that is why you may have seen or heard about people complaining that the small vehicles cannot be permission to go into the B series of public transportation.
Stay with us, Focus on GRA. We'll be back after this break with more answers to your questions with Mr. Gavin Lowe on the phone line.
Meet Tom.
Meet Harry.
Tom failed to update his banking information with the GRA and now has to go into the agency to receive his refund check.
While Harry is using the new Optimal software and his refund was successfully transferred to his bank account. Optimal Revenue Management System. Let's get ready for 2021.
Welcome back. You're watching Focus on GRA and we're chatting on the phone line with Mr. Gavin Lowe, who is providing answers to your questions via our social media page. Mr. Lowe, we have a question from Rafael Ahmed and it's about vehicles registered in goods or G series. And he's asking, what is the criteria to benefit from tax exemptions for these vehicles?
You must have a registered business to be granted an exemption in the G series. And by doing so, you have to produce a copy of your business registration. Now, the applicant must be tax compliant, as I explained earlier. Tax compliant is with income tax, PAYE, NIS, property tax, and all other taxes. Now, one permission is granted for a vehicle to be placed in the G series for goods transportation. The person is required to remove all side glasses and replace with fixed metal panels. It's not just placing or putting the metal panels over the glass. They have to remove it completely. That's the policy. But at no time must seats be placed in the cargo area of the G series. So if you have a family function, let's say you're going to the creek and you want to take your family, it's really not permitted. If you're caught with it, the vehicle can be detained and you'll have to pay the full taxes on the vehicle as if when it came into the country. and they'll permit the vehicle to go in the P series and take away the privilege of the G series as a goods carrying vehicle. So the taxes will automatically become payable, the full taxes. And that is if we revise the policy, that's how we're going to make it very strict. So once you're caught one time, not in compliance, the entire tax for that vehicle will become applicable.
Okay, Kevin Boston is asking, what are the exemption benefits available for remigrants?
Remigrants are granted exemptions under a number of sections of the laws. So we're seeing here that the first one, Part 3B2, Item 5.4 of the Customs Act, and it says baggage and household effects as determined by a list of, specified in a list determined by the Commissioner General when imported 6 months upon arrival of a qualifying remigrant. First thing is that to become a remigrant, you have to be qualified by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Now, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, our law, Section 23, states that a person must be permanently residing overseas for at least 5 years, or they must have continuous bona fide residence for 5 years, for a period of 5 years or more. What the policy of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is currently is that that person have to live in the US or whichever country of domicile for at least 60% of that 5-year period. So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs determining whether the person is a remigrant and not the GRA. The GRA's role is basically to deal with taxation. But once the person is granted status, then GRA comes into play. Now, Section 23 deals with the motor vehicle and the restrictions and conditions and the type of tax that they will have to pay and the amount.
Well, thank you, Mr. Gavin Lowe, and thanks to our messenger audience for their questions. Remember, you can also send us your questions via our email, grapublicrelations@gmail.com. We'll be back with more of Focus on GRA after this break.
Are you into business, going to school, or planning to buy a computer or laptop? Then GRA has you covered. Computer monitors, mouse, keyboards, and many internal components of the central processing unit are zero-rated from VAT. Yes, you heard right. They attract no VAT. But wait, there is more. Computer accessories and printers for personal use, whether multifunctional or not, are also VAT zero-rated. For more information on zero-rated items, contact us. GRA, your partner in development.
Welcome back. You're watching Focus on GRA. Now, at this time, we want to remind our VAT registrants about the requirements in the VAT Act, Chapter 8105, regarding displaying or advertising items to the consuming public. Here's what you need to know about VAT Inclusive Pricing.
As a consumer, you are not supposed to suffer a tax shock when paying for your goods and services. This simply means that if a good or service attracts VAT, you must know whether or not the price includes VAT before you pay for the item. This is referred to as VAT Inclusive Pricing.
That would mean that if you see an item is valued at $5,000, then, and if it's tax inclusive, it means the VAT element is embedded in that price. So while there are other, so basically a VAT registrant has the option of reflecting their prices that is on display, either tax inclusive or tax exclusive.
Section 92 of the Value Added Tax Act stipulates all prices advertised or quoted by a VAT registrant must state that tax is included.
So let's say use the next scenario of 100,000. So if the taxpayer is reflecting a price as 100,000 for a particular item, It means if it's inclusive, it means embedded in that price, 100,000 is a VAT element of 14,000. But most importantly is the buyer, your customers must be aware. So whether it's your display is online or whether it's in your store, you should have the notification there to state whether it's inclusive or exclusive.
A VAT registrant can advertise or quote the price exclusive of VAT in accordance with Section 93 of the VAT Act. However, the advertisement or quotation must state the amount of tax to be charged on the supply and the final price when the tax is added. Both these prices must be prominently displayed.
It's critical for your invoices to reflect the tax. So in essence, irrespective of how you display it, both of your invoices are required to be prepared the same.
While it is important to ensure you receive a sales invoice for your transaction, as a consumer, you can calculate the VAT using a simple fraction.
There is something called the VAT fraction, which is basically just math, just plain old math. I know a lot of us get carried away when you hear VAT fraction, but it's just basically maths to extract the element out of the tax. So basically a formula that takes you back to the same 14% to take it out. And the shortcut to the formula, as you simplify it, is 7/57.
For example, if a consumer paid $1,000 for a good or service and they are not sure how much of the total cost is VAT, then the VAT fraction of 7/57 can be used to determine the VAT that the consumer paid and that the registered business need to pay over to the GRA. In this instance, the VAT would be $123. The GRA wishes to remind all persons registered for VAT that they must charge VAT on all goods and services at the standard rate of 14%, except where the good or service is exempt or zero rated. It is also important to prominently display your VAT certificate.
As consumers, I want us to be vigilant. If you're dealing with whether you're in the oil and gas industry or whether you're a small proprietor, whatever, or you're just a direct consumer, you're purchasing products, whether it's online or not, you need to request the VAT certificate. Let that person that you're entering a contract with, they can be stating VAT, let them show you the certificate. If it's at a store, it must be displayed at the person's a conspicuous place. In other words, every John public must be able to see whether you're a VAT registrant or not, because that's your license to charge VAT.
In accordance with Part 4 of the VAT Act, a business is required to register for VAT mandatorily or voluntarily. Mandatory if the taxable activity equals or exceeds the threshold of $15 million during or at the end of the year, and voluntary if the taxable turnover is below the $15 million threshold. We have your question in focus on the other side of the break.
As a remigrant, you can import more than one vehicles and pay no import duties, no VAT, and reduce excise tax. However, the total exemption cannot exceed $5 million. If it does, you will have to pay the additional duties and taxes. Did I mention that returning students are also entitled to the same benefit 6 months after settling in the country? For additional information and assistance, contact us 227-6060, extension 1201 to 1204. When it comes to healthcare, we all want the best. The best hospitals, the best doctors, and the best treatment. But sometimes the best comes at a heavy cost. Well, the good news is you don't have to worry about VAT on medical, dental, hospital, optical, or paramedical services. There's also no VAT on orthopedic appliances like hearing aids or others that are implanted on the body to compensate for a defect or disability. Sounds like good news to help you feel better for the best.
The Ghana Revenue Authority has started training for licensed custom house brokers. That program started by mid-September, and the GRA will be concluding that program by mid-October. It's a 1-month program. Hence the reason why this question in focus will be focusing on the licensed custom house brokers, and I have tax specialist Ms. Marcel Evans in studio here with me, and she will tell you all about it. Marcel, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Fabian.
Let us first establish who is a licensed custom house broker.
Okay, a licensed custom house broker is an individual who is licensed under customs regulations to transact business at the Customs, Excise and Trade operation on behalf of others.
And it's important to note that they must be licensed. It's someone who must be licensed by the Guyana Revenue Authority. So tell me, how does an individual become a licensed custom house broker?
In order for one to be a licensed custom house broker, the person must be a citizen of Guyana, must not be an employee within the public sector, nor an employee at the Guyana Revenue Authority. They must be 18 years and older, be of good character.
So tell me, should these individuals, these potential brokers, possess knowledge of customs laws, etc.?
The person must have at least 2 years experience working along with a custom broker and along with the laws and regulations and procedures within the customs area.
So would the GRA require things like police clearance and ID information and confirmation, as some other entities would require? That is for this program?
Yes. In order, through the registration process, you must possess a valid police clearance, original and copy of your ID card, original and copy of your TIN certificate.
Is there a fee attached for this training program?
Yes, there's a fee attached. There is a total of $50,000. It is broken down. $40,000 for the program. It includes the training materials, $5,000 for registration, and $5,000 for processing the documents. All fees are payable at the Guyana Revenue Authority, Finance Division, 200 and 201 Camp Street.
So can another entity license a custom house broker, or is GRA the only entity?
The GRA is the only authorized organization to issue individuals with a licensed custom house brokerage certificate.
Great. Thank you, Marcel. And there you have it, Marcel Evans from the GRA's Tax Advisory Services section, providing you with information on the Custom House Broker Training Program. The program for 2021 is underway and it will conclude by mid-October. And that has brought us to the end of Focus on GRA. Remember, you can contact us via our email, grapublicrelations@gmail.com. And you could also contact us via social media, our social media and YouTube platforms to learn more. Remember, the COVID-19 mandate is still in effect. As you're entering our offices, you must present a vaccination card and some form of identification. Unvaccinated persons are required to make a prior appointment and also show a negative COVID-19 PCR test. Remember to stay safe, look out for yourselves and each other. Fabian Krause saying goodbye for now.